In addition, when there's a ineffective oversight, there is the risk of waste, fraud, and abuse. And with the U.S. Wartime Commission on Contracting, you found significant waste and abuse in the war zones, somewhere between $31 and $60 billion wasted, large sum of money. How does that affect the effectiveness of the mission?
Well, it affects it hugely. For example, we're seeing Iraq implode before our very eyes, needless to say. I think we spent something like $25 billion alone to train the Iraqi army, and we've seen that it's essentially collapsed over the last few weeks in response to a very determined threat from ISIS and a number of other affiliated al-Qaeda-like groups. And that just shows that the billions we spent specifically on that part of the war effort, that's to say nothing of the other parts of the war effort that we spent in Iraq, were for naught, and that's because so much of the money was ill-planned, ill-spent, not due oversight given over to it. So literally, people are dying in Iraq today because the money that we spent to try to prevent that went awry. Right. So these are life and death issues. We, the American people, our military presence is going to end for all practical purposes, even if we leave behind, a relative few residual troops, is going to end for all practical purposes at the end of this year in Afghanistan. And there's great concern, as you know, that the very same thing will happen there. And we pointed to all of these issues, as you say, during the course of the commission, and here we are. So these are critical life and death matters. And furthermore, I guess the other thing that I underscore is, it's not as if we're now, and have been for all these many years, more than a decade, wasting these money in these two particular war theaters and around the world with regard to the war on terrorism and national security challenges that we face. But we're doing so now at a time of great fiscal challenge. And so I wrote in the book, and I wrote the book in 2006, so it was nearly a decade ago, every dollar wasted is a dollar that could have been spent to make America more secure. That's even more so now than it was then. At a time, 2006, when I wrote that book, relatively speaking, America was flush. We're anything but flush now. And so we've got to be smarter about how we spend our necessarily limited dollars to make the most of them and to make sure that the programs that we invest in are ones that are effective and efficiently run.
And one of the shocking things I found in reading that some of the money spent for contractors was then spent for protection, actually providing funds to the insurgents and warlords that were fighting U.S. troops. So
absolutely,
it was U.S. dollars that.
And furthermore, that happened in some cases knowingly. Our contracting officers, our people in DOD, State Department AID were aware of that. So that's really shocking.
And with internal controls so weak that type of thing can happen, that's incredibly dangerous for our troops on the ground, how can we be sure that other areas, civil liberties, privacy, even just the effectiveness of the agencies isn't being undermined by this lack of internal controls?
And we can't be. Because of that, there's every reason to be suspicious about whether what we don't know is even more troubling, more concerning than what we do know.